Hello, everyone. It's been a little while for us to make it to episode 6 of the NextGen Playbook podcast. I'm of course your host Charlie, along with my incredible co-host Reed and his dumb aviators, and we've got quite the recap. It seems like it's been a minute, hasn't it, since our last episode?
It's been a long time. School, camp. We had so much fun at camp. We kind of forgot about the viewers.
Yeah.
It's all right though.
There's not a whole lot of content from that. If you guys would like, we had to do a mock podcast segment with a pretty cool kid we met at camp. So if you guys would like that audio, just let us know.
Yeah, I can post that for sure.
Yeah. But it's been quite a while, and there's quite a lot of stuff that we need to cover, which I think is a good thing. We're going to start it off with something relatively recently, I'd say this happened. The MLB trade deadline and a lot of big moves. I don't think there's as much action as some people were expecting, but definitely
I agree.
a good amount of moves, and especially with some good big teams. I think the team that made I wouldn't even say the best moves, just like probably the most high profile moves was probably the Mets. Of course, moving away from their two aging starters, Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. What are your thoughts on those trades?
I mean, yeah, it definitely saw it coming. The Mets have been terrible this year. They really fell off in the month of June. July wasn't really much better to them. So yeah, it was probably best for them. They got a good prospect in that trade with the Rangers. When they sent Scherzer over for Luis Angel Acuna.
Yeah.
Related to Ronald. Good prospect, so we'll see if he can pan out and make it up. But yeah, you saw this coming. The Mets just did not have a great summer, and they're continuing to suck. So yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's just interesting though, seeing Verlander. I feel like Verlander was kind of obvious a guy that was going to move the deadline. Not a whole lot of reason to keep a guy like that around, especially a guy like Scherzer. But I heard a lot of Francisco Lindor talk. I didn't see really any action for him. I just felt like, well, I do a partial fire sale when you've got all these pieces. They also sold off David Robertson, if I remember. So kind of a weird fire sale, like not throwing it all away, and keeping some pieces. So kind of interesting.
Yeah, very interesting.
Moving on. I think, are there any teams that you thought had a good trade deadline, a bad trade deadline? Any thoughts on that?
Well, as we all know, my St. Louis Cardinals sold and Paul Leon. Sellers, whatever. The Braves acquiring Nicky Lopez is really interesting. What are your thoughts? Because you're the big Braves guy over here.
Well,
there is a bad part though. They did have to DFA Charlie Culberson. That's the only negative.
I feel for Charlie, man.
We all feel for Charlie.
If you don't remember, earlier this year on Father's Day, they did this thing where Charlie Culberson's that's going to throw the first pitch. Well, he's not, because Charlie Culberson got DFA'd like the day before the game. Taylor Hearn, Braves legend as always. I think he threw like 2/3 of an inning against the Brewers.
Dude, he got rocked.
He got rocked. Some interesting moves by the Braves, of course, acquiring Pierce Johnson and Taylor Hearn, using a couple of low-level prospects. I'd like to pick up Nicky Lopez though.
More depth, honestly.
Yeah, I like the utility defense that guy can bring. Pretty quick as well.
Just
a good piece for a playoff push. I would have liked maybe some help in the bullpen, especially with a good amount of our arms going down, season-ending injuries like Nick Anderson and Dylan Lee. But it could have gone worse. We could have made no moves like the Yankees, a team. I think Yankees fans wanted something to happen, but they're just in a weird and interesting situation that you really can't escape from.
Yeah, they've got all the talent, sort of like the Mets, and the Yankees are last place in their division. It's really tricky.
Except I feel like the Yankees have a bit more of an excuse. I mean, the Mets have dealt with injuries, but the Yankees, I mean, last year's MVP, Aaron Judge, has been shut down for multiple months at this point. So
he's back now.
Yeah, but then they just lost Josh Johnson, which is probably a plus, honestly, at this point. But just I don't really know what they could have done there. Do you want to give Jason Dominguez or any of your other really solid prospects to improve the team? I don't think you want to, especially when there's a good chance any improvements you add won't really put you guys over the top.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you look at a team like the Red Sox, who were expected to bottom out this division by a lot, and they're not doing terrible. For sure. Speaking of the Red Sox, sending Kike Hernandez back to the Dodgers. I mean, you feel for Dodgers fans, but for Red Sox fans, but you got to be happy for Kike. He gets to go back to Los Angeles. I feel like where he belongs. I
Yeah,
feel like he'll thrive there.
it feels right.
Playoff push for Kike is always fun because I like Kike Hernandez a lot.
And the Red Sox replacement for him was what's his face? I'm blanking on the name, but it's kind of just a downgrade as a middle infielder. So just a weird deadline in general. Not a whole lot of moves. A team like the Padres as well, not really making as many moves as we thought. A team pretty low down in the division rankings. Not a team, honestly, that seems like can compete playoff wise. Yet decide, hey, we're not selling Hader or Snell. We're not really giving away any pieces. So definitely, we'll see how we'll revisit this in a year or two and see how this trade deadline panned out. Now, different sport, same acquisitions though. Some new signings in the NHL. Reed, why don't you take us away with that?
Yeah, so one of the bigger signings that happened recently was Erik Karlsson, defenseman signing with Pittsburgh Penguins. I think this is a good veteran presence for this Penguins team that missed out on the playoffs this season. They really need some of this veteran depth, and Erik Karlsson's been in the league for a while. He's been really solid for a while. So I really like this signing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I think they're going to get back to the playoffs. Sidney Crosby is too good. And they still have some of their core. They're obviously getting a lot older, but I hope that they can make it back. I like Sidney Crosby. Another good acquisition for a team on the uprise is the Ottawa Senators and Vladimir Tarasenko signing a 1-year deal. Vladimir Tarasenko, we know, has been in the league for a while now. Most of his seasons with the Blues, and then spent a little less than half of last season with the New York Rangers.
Yeah, I know what's going on.
And then
PK Subban, anyone?
Unrestricted free agent, signs with Ottawa for an Ottawa team that did really well last year, exceeded expectations. Obviously didn't make the playoffs, may not be quite playoff ready yet, but you could see the Senators in the playoffs in the next couple of years for sure. Another team that I'm also just high on next year for the NHL season, I know I'm veering off a little bit, Buffalo Sabres. They had a really great season. Tage Thompson has really proved that he can be an elite young player in the NHL. I really see some Connor McDavid in him. He's extremely fast. So yeah, that's kind of what I've got for the NHL so far. What do you have about the association, as they call it?
The NBA, not a whole lot of moves recent, as most of the offseason action has wrapped up with the next season coming up. A deal that I don't think I dived enough into though.
Dove enough into. Dived is not a word.
Thank you, Reed. Is the move by the Boston Red Sox to acquire Kristaps Porzingis.
You said Red Sox.
Thanks, Reed. The Boston Celtics making a move to acquire Kristaps Porzingis from the Wizards. Originally, the deal fell through due to medical issues with Malcolm Brogdon. They reworked the deal, and although I feel like it might have been a worse package for the Celtics.
Dude. We had a break between MLB and NBA, and you still don't know your teams.
Okay. I will go down this.
Okay.
We will get off topic. I don't care.
Hey, I care. The viewers care. Anyways.
As I was rudely interrupted for the second time, once again, the Celtics made that move. Losing Marcus Smart this time instead of Malcolm Brogdon, him being, of course, sent to Memphis. A good move. I don't think it fully puts him over the top just because, we saw what happened with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum last year in the playoffs. I don't know how much of an impact Kristaps can make, especially with losing a guy like Grant Williams in free agency. So we'll just have to see how that move pans out. I feel like it does make them probably the best team in the East.
Yeah, definitely a team to beat for sure.
Oh, for sure, as always, as the Celtics are. But moving on.
I just like to add, what are your thoughts on the Supermax extensions that Jaylen Brown got to Tatum?
The Red Sox had. Oh my gosh!
Time's a charm, baby.
The Celtics, I think they had to give Jaylen Brown the Supermax just because. I think they would have just lost him in the offseason. I don't really like the contract. I don't feel like he's a Supermax worthy player.
I agree.
And Jason, I don't think he's like a top star. Like
St. Louis
top
native. St. Louis native.
Okay, thank you. Top 5, top 7 player. I don't think he is.
Wait, what team does he play for?
The Red Sox. But I think once again he had to keep both those guys around. I think they're a very solid squad, and depending on how that Dame move works to Miami, I think they probably are the team to beat. Speaking of Damian Lillard, though, at camp, we learned a little bit more insight on that trade. Apparently, what's going on is the package that the Trailblazers want is both Jovic and Jaime Jaquez Jr., which the Heat are just unwilling to give up. They don't want to give up both their young assets. But when trying to win now, I don't see a reason to keep those guys around, especially when they're relatively low value first round picks. Jovic being 27 and excuse me, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. at 29. So I don't really see a reason why you wouldn't make that move. But moving on to a league that actually had its first official match today. It's the Premier League. It's already back.
The Prem is back, baby. I don't care if y'all don't care about the Prem. We care about the Prem. A lot of people in the world care about the Prem, not like they watch this podcast or anything, but we try to go in depth because we like soccer because it's on so much and it gives us more sports to watch. Charlie, take it away.
Well, a team. Now we're really gonna deep dive because I mean it's a brand new season for this league. Why wouldn't we talk a lot about it?
3 new teams.
3 new teams, and we're gonna start it off honestly with a segment that's kind of unfortunate to start with. The relegation candidates, a place where probably these 3 teams will be battling for. Reed, do you want to start with your 3 teams going down?
Yeah, so this isn't really in any particular order, but I guess I can make an order up here. Luton in 20th. As much as we all love the Luton Town story, making it to the Premier League in that penalty kicks against was it Coventry, I think?
Yes.
Against Coventry City. That was electric. They obviously just they're not Premier League level at all. So I feel like they're gonna go back down to Championship.
If they can get 1 draw at home, or 1 draw against like the Big 6 or Newcastle.
They'll draw against United just because of how pathetic we are. Clip it.
They're breaking him. They're breaking him.
No, I've just learned to just not even get too excited. We're gonna get grouped in the Champions League. All right, 19th place. 19th place, I feel like it's gonna be Sheffield United, another team that's just coming up. I just don't think they're that great. They don't have they don't have great pieces. They didn't make many moves during the summer transfer window, and there's still time, but I don't think that'll happen. And then in 18th place, I've got the Wolverhampton Wanderers, aka Wolves. They are in a bit of a financial situation right now that could have them have points deducted, which, for a team like Wolverhampton, like the Wolves that, they're already struggle enough. They're always a mid-table team. Sometimes their lower half. Starting off with a point deduction is really going to hurt them for sure. Losing, what's that guy's name? Nunez.
Ruben
Neves. Yeah.
To Saudi Arabia.
That's a huge blow. I don't like Wolverhampton this year, and I know they're gonna get relegated if they have that point deduction happen. So, 3 relegation teams. What do you think?
Well, I'm gonna agree with Reed on the first 2, Luton and Sheffield. Just not a Premier League caliber, and the cash injection that they were given just isn't enough. But in 18th, I'm gonna go a little bit different here. I'm gonna go with Everton.
You slandered me for putting up. No, you didn't. I was gonna. Never mind. Keep going.
I just felt like honestly, maybe they should have deserved to go down more than Leeds or Leicester, and they just haven't made the moves this summer to give me any hope of why they should stay up. Demir Gray isn't enough to keep that team up, and defensively, they're all slow and old, except for what's this? Gooden. Ben Godfrey. That's his name.
We are very rusty.
We are rusty. I'm forgetting some names. I spent all my juice on Keon Buxton.
And Malik
Smith. If anyone gets those references, you're cool.
Yeah, facts. I think we should flip it to the opposite of relegation, but you qualify for that very cool league that's up for the Champions League. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, something you haven't seen in 4 years or something.
Dude, that is so brutal. End yourself, please.
Okay, why don't you take it away, Reed? What do you feel safe about?
So, Manchester City, obviously, coming off that treble. They just won today 3-0 against Burnley, which, the first game of the season is always tough, no matter who you play, for sure. So I think that's a good win for them, just to start the season off on the right foot after just losing the Community Shield, which it's not a huge deal, but I mean, you definitely want to win that game against Arsenal. Whatever, though. Man City, I feel like Liverpool has a bounce back season. Don't do that. I feel like Liverpool has a bounce back season. Last year they were riddled with injuries, very old team, but I really like the addition of McAllister, for sure.
And supposedly and maybe even Moises Caicedo.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get to McAllister and Caicedo in a bit. And then I've got Arsenal. Still have a great team. I love Mikel Arteta as a manager. I think he's a great manager. They came so close last year to winning the league. I think they'll be able to come in third, and then I'm going to have United rounded out in the fourth spot. It's definitely going to be really tight between United, Manchester United, Newcastle United, and maybe even a team like Chelsea or Aston Villa to fight for that spot. I don't quite understand why people are saying Chelsea's going to make the Champions League. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what
Hope
this
is
new manager.
fleeting, everyone. Don't waste it on
All of the Americans are Chelsea fans, but now they're not because Pulisic. I don't know. We'll see what they can do with this new manager. So, top four.
Well, I'm gonna have to agree with him. With three of the spots: Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal. I think I'd switch up the order a little bit. Liverpool
definitely.
lost a couple of pieces this summer. Some very good veteran pieces.
Yeah, like Firmino.
Firmino, Firmino.
Yeah.
Jordan Henderson, and Fabinho.
I do like Cody Gakpo though.
I do like Cody Gakpo. I like all the pieces they were able to acquire this summer, and Dominic Szoboszlai from Leipzig and McAllister from
Brighton. Yeah.
And I feel like that's a solid team. I just think Arsenal have made so many moves this summer. I mean, maybe they'll have some trouble working everyone in. I think they definitely will. But I just feel like the team has so much depth that midfield is good. The defense is very solid now with guys like Jordi and Timber in there now. I mean, they already had incredible fullback depth.
Yeah.
I think the main issue that they had last season was just depth when all those guys went down.
Yeah,
their
defense was quite shaky when they started losing games.
You do not want Roberto Holding.
Yeah,
in the back.
So who's your fourth team? Because we seem to be disagreeing. I mean, I know who you're going to say, but let's just hear this out.
Okay. There is bias.
You finally biased in this. Go, baby.
There's bias in the statement, but I don't know. I feel like Manchester United, I just don't feel like their attack is consistent enough.
I understand.
Their midfield is solid. I do see Casemiro taking a step back just due to age. Defensively, losing Harry Maguire is probably a good thing. And I think it's going to take a little bit for Onana to really get into the rhythm, especially playing in a very different league from Serie A, transitioning to the Prem. I mean, he really didn't even have his chance to get his feet wet in Serie A, only spending 1 year with Inter Milan.
Yep.
But we'll have to see how that works out. I'm afraid for Højlund coming in with an injury, and just it's a big jump from a team like Atalanta, who was, fighting for a European position in Serie A, to Manchester United. So
yeah,
we'll see how that works out.
There's just a big burden of playing for Manchester United, one of the greatest clubs ever. They're trying to be a backup on that uprise for sure. I agree. I'm a little concerned about consistency because last year we saw spurts of Man United just being this elite team. And then they
cheating to beat City, of course, one of their bigger moments last year.
Cheating. Oh yeah, I remember this.
The Rashford goal.
Whatever. Well, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little nervous. We'll just see how the season plays out, especially the beginning of the season, which season's still pretty long. So they can get off on the wrong foot. But Newcastle, what do you like about them?
Okay, we need to make one, maybe two more moves. I was disappointed to lose Alassane Maximin. He was my favorite player when I just got into the sport. I feel like the move to get Sandro Tonali, although he doesn't seem to be enjoying his time in Newcastle, I'm sure he'll love the British culture very soon. I like
basically Scottish culture. They're so far north, but whatever.
I like our midfield a lot with Bruno Guimaraes. I feel like a really physical guy. Sandro Tonali.
I like Miguel Almiron.
Okay. I like Joe Willock as a good piece of depth. I love Joe Linton. Joe Linton is great. We all love Joe Linton. And I like Harvey Barnes as well. A good piece, a really fast piece. Getting Livramento from Southampton, I felt was a good pickup. I just wanted more, especially when you get into the Champions League. I think we're probably going to get grouped depending on how good our group is. I feel like it's very
I agree.
likely.
United for sure. Like United and Newcastle probably aren't going to do much.
Yeah, so we'll just have to see how it plays out. Honestly, I could see a 3-team race between United, Chelsea, and Newcastle.
Can you explain yourself a little bit on the Chelsea part? Because I still haven't been able to grasp around that, becoming 12th and all of the sales they made this year.
Well, all the sales I feel like were warranted. I mean, those players really didn't do
Pulisic,
extremely well
Havertz.
last season.
Pulisic never really, I feel like, got a shot like last season.
Loftus Cheek, what's it called? Koulibaly, Mendy, Conte. I feel like the Conte move wasn't very good, but he was very injury prone last year. And I feel like the moves that they made this summer with Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson, although nothing top notch, I feel like is enough for them to at least be competing for the 5th, 6th, maybe even 4th spot. So
Yeah, we'll see. It'll be a very interesting season.
But it seems like you don't like Chelsea much, huh? So what is a team that you do like and a team that you don't like this upcoming season?
So aside from Chelsea, who I'm a little skeptical about, Brighton, I don't know. They had a great season last year, getting into European football. But the loss of Alexis of McAllister to Liverpool is just enormous for a team like them, I feel like. Where he was really great for them last year. They still have Mitoma, still have some of their pieces, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm not super high on Brighton at the moment.
Yeah, what's on the other end of the spectrum? What's a team that you feel very good about?
As I mentioned, I had them coming 3rd in my top 4. Maybe they could even come 2nd. I've got Arsenal. I just love what they're doing over there in London. Best team in London. What do you think of Tottenham?
They're pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, I really like Arsenal. I really like their pieces. I really like their depth. If they can stay healthy, stay consistent, especially on especially on the back end with the defense. What are you doing?
Nothing. What?
Okay.
This kid.
I think the glasses are making you see stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
I definitely like Arsenal. So, team you like, team you don't like, Charlie?
A team that did pretty well last season, making it into Europe, Aston Villa. I like them a lot. I feel like the moves of getting Musa Diaby, Yuri Tielemans, definitely not a top-notch player, but a good depth piece. And then Pau Torres, I feel like was a snag financial-wise. And just returning piece for Unai Emery. I feel like the team retained a lot of its depth, only really losing like Ashley Young. And I just like all the moves they made. I feel like Musa Diaby adds a lot to that attack. And as long as Ollie Watkins is able to keep up partially of that end of season form, I feel like they'll be in a very good spot.
Yeah, the loss of never mind. I'm saying with the wrong team. My bad. MB.
We're gonna say Declan Rice.
I was going to say Declan Rice. Declan Rice to Arsenal. I forgot about him. That'll help them for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And then a team that I don't like in this upcoming season is Brentford, a team that was able to sneak into the top 10, and I just feel like losing their best attacker by a mile and Ivan Toney for this upcoming season is going to hurt them a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I do like the move to get Kevin Shade on a permanent deal, and I do like the Danish winger Michael Damsgaard, but defense not great, midfield nothing special, attack especially without Toney shaky at best. And losing, of course, your best keeper losing like maybe even a top 5 keeper in the Bremen, David Raya, to Arsenal is definitely gonna hurt you a lot, and I could see them maybe even falling into a relegation scrap.
Wow, yeah, interesting. The loss of Ivan Toney is huge. He was their best player by far last year. So very.
Don't forget David Raya. He was very good.
So very interesting. Your take. Interesting.
And now
Take it away.
that was a good transition. I'll give you that one. But now onto a segment that got brought up last week.
Last week, okay, buddy.
Last episode.
Buddy. Okay, buddy.
It is your interesting team to highlight time when we go a little bit into the past, whether it's the 50s, the 2000s, somewhere in between, and we just highlight a team that we thought, hey, that's a cool team, and it's kind of been lost to history.
And they didn't really win anything, but cool team, right?
Yeah.
Interesting team.
And Reed's gonna take it away with his biased opinion.
Biased, but a team that people forget about, a team I forget about. It's the first year I really started watching the Stanley Cup playoffs. The 2015-2016 St. Louis Blues finished 2nd in the Central Division in the National Hockey League in the Western Conference. David Backes, captain of that team. Where is he now? Nobody knows.
Oh, is he like off the grid?
No, I'm just saying that.
Is he like with?
He was with the Bruins when the Blues
is he with
won.
the Jets now?
Winnipeg.
I just feel like
I don't know.
who knows?
The Blues highlight of that season was beating the biggest rival, the Chicago Blackhawks, in 7 games in the first round of the playoffs.
Connor Bedard.
He is going to be a pain. Hey, if other Reed watches this, he knows Connor Bedard is going to be a pain for especially the Blues. But anyways, I don't want to talk about that. So then they beat the Stars in 7 games, whooped them in Game 7. And then they lost to the San Jose Sharks in 6 games in the Western Conference Finals. Hard fought series. It'd be okay because 3 years later the Blues would get to the promised land and they would actually beat the Sharks in the Western Conference Finals and the Stars in the second round.
And here he goes on his spiel.
Indubitably. Starting goalie. Well, actually, I wouldn't even say starting. Jake Allen and Brian Elliott both shared time in net. Both had
cool.
Both had very similar stats. Jake Allen, I'm going to highlight here: 920 save percentage, 2.35 goals against. But he did split time with Brian Elliott, who had very similar stats for sure. So that's always a good problem to have 2 solid goalies.
Oh yeah.
The best skater, I mentioned him earlier, Vladimir Tarasenko, 74 points. So this team only ranked 15th in goals scored in the NHL this 2015-16 season, but they were 4th in goals allowed. So they did not allow many goals. Vladimir Tarasenko was definitely the best player, best skater, 74 points, 40 goals. Yeah, he had a great season. Plus minus was a little weird, but plus minus is kind of a weird stat.
I don't like plus minus in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just
it's a win.
Stat.
It's a win centric statistic.
Yeah. So what's your interesting team? Because I know your team doesn't exist anymore. Well, it does.
But it doesn't at the same time. My team is the Seattle Supersonics of the Year of Our Lord 2004 and of 05. And it's a weird year for this Sonics team. I kind of just forgot an era for this squad. Of course, just a few years before they'd move or mosey their way down to OKC, and then actually become consistent and good. And now they're going to be good again after like a couple years of tanking. But anyways, after that sidetrack, a 52-30 record that year led by Nate McMillan. And if you're a Hawks fan, you might know that name.
I think I know that name.
Yeah, led us to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021, then got fired because he wasn't very good.
He did get fired.
To be honest, I mean, this is a 50-win team and they have Ray Allen, but it's nothing special. They finished
UConn Huskies legend,
yeah,
Ray Allen.
Yeah, Jesus Shuttlesworth. You don't get that reference.
Indubitably.
This team it's just a weird thing for this team to top their division, win 50 games, and they're not really great at anything.
What'd they do in the playoffs?
Well, it was just a weird year. The Spurs topped the charts this season, winning or being second in the Western Conference and then winning the NBA championship. And a couple of those games were close. Ray Allen put in really good effort. His co-star Rasheed Lewis, who would later on move to greener pastures down in Orlando, put in some good effort, but kind of just an interesting team, not really defensive centric or offensively centric. Some interesting players I'd like to highlight. If you know, Mateen Cleaves didn't really have an impact on this team, but a really interesting player to have on this team. If you, as a Gator fan, I know that name because he killed us in the 2000 NCAA championship game against Michigan State.
It's okay.
It's okay. I wasn't alive to see it.
Yeah, we didn't have to witness that.
The first player to have his jersey retired by OKC, Nick Collison, was also on this team early on in his career as well. And I think the player that I want to mention, I think a lot of 2K players probably know him, Vladimir Radmanovic from Bosnia-Herzegovina.
If your name is Vladimir, you're probably Russian. Unless your name is Vladimir Guerrero, then you're special. Anyways.
Or maybe he's just from Yugoslavia.
That's true. Yugoslavia.
What made it to the 2001-2002 all rookie team, and then kind of just diminished over time. Just a really interesting player, kind of like an OG stretch 4. I know Reed doesn't really get that term, but kind of just like a player.
My eyes have been shut this whole time. No, I don't really know basketball. So
if you don't know what a stretch 4 is, it's like a power forward who can also shoot threes.
Fire.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to learn about. Robert Swift, another interesting name if you know that one. Rich Evans, just an interesting team that lost in six, unfortunately, in the second round, but it kind of lost a history of just a forgotten era
Stretch.
for that Sonics team.
Yeah, forgotten part of that era was the shorts they wore past their knees. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
So, just an interesting team later on. Real and Rashid Lewis would move away to the Eastern Conference. And they would both move on to greener pastures. Speaking of green pastures, moments of the week, I feel like that's a pretty good.
I feel like, are you prepared for this? You ain't got anything on the notes page.
Oh no, I know what I'm saying.
Okay, cool.
So why don't you take it away?
All right, actually, I want to start with the low light because we always want to hit on the high notes. Low light, CJ Stroud interception.
Oh my gosh!
First,
talks about the Patriots.
CJ Stroud interception. First drive of his NFL career. I know it doesn't really count for much, but I mean he's still technically in a QB battle with Davis Mills.
Stanford legend.
Case Keenum too. Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Thank
you to our friend at camp to getting us that trivia question, because for some reason Case Keenum has like all-time passing yards and 8 touchdowns
in CFB history or something,
which is crazy.
Yeah, Braylon Brown, yes. It's for you, buddy.
We love you.
I will, yes. Going up against the Bill Belichick defense in any realm, any preseason, regular season, postseason, it's always tough, especially for a guy making his first appearance. He got one drive. CJ Stroud got one drive that game, so he's got a lot to prove in these next 2 preseason games if he wants to be that #1 starter in Houston. So yeah, low light of the week for you, Charlie. What do you got?
Why don't you just do your entire segment? Because I am gonna dominate this segment.
Okay, I bet you are.
Just watch what happens.
I'm scared. My highlight is Michael Lorenzen no-hitter. I feel like his no-hitter has kind of gone under the radar. And same with, by the way, Framber Valdez. He threw a no-hitter, and we all forgot about that.
Who cares?
Okay. But Michael Lorenzen throwing a no-hitter is great. His dad passed away however many years ago, and he hit that home run in Cincinnati. That was pretty cool. That's what I remember him as. Now I remember him as a guy that threw a no-hitter.
And also made the All-Star team with like a 4 or 5 year ERA.
But it's okay because he threw a no-hitter. He ended up proving everybody
it's like it cancels out everyone.
No, definitely. Also an interesting stat. He went to Fullerton Union High School, and 4 pitchers and made it to the MLB from that high school. All 4 of them have thrown no hitters. Just a cool stat, including Walter Johnson. So that high school is old as dust.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Charlie. Take it away.
So my low light is going to be the Ramon Laureano comment where he said, "I like being DFA'd by the Athletics because it means I can go to contender." I'm going to be honest. If you're getting DFA'd by the Athletics, a contender does not want you.
Wait, he said that?
Yes.
Oh, days.
If you're getting DFA'd by the Athletics, a contender probably doesn't want you.
That's bad.
Your defense is not good enough to come on a roster.
His arm's pretty good though.
His
arm is elite.
Defensively, he's pretty solid.
He can't hit. I guess none of them can hit. Ryan Noda. First baseman. If Ryan Noda is your first baseman, you're in trouble, bubble.
You are in trouble, bubble.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, dude.
Yeah.
You have the guts to say that after you got DFA'd by one of the worst teams of all time.
Seriously, sending out like a AA, AAA team out there. On a higher note, though, as we mentioned earlier, the Community Shield was played relatively recently between Arsenal and Manchester City, and I talk about the Prem, and this kid says, "What do you think of Tottenham?" United. Gosh. Speaking of the Community Shield, which didn't have a certain team from Manchester in it, a different
United.
Dude. Okay. Leandro Trossard's crazy deflected goal into the net made Stefan Ortega look like a dummy. And gave Arsenal their first trophy, first dinner plate in like 2-3 years at this point.
Dinner plate.
A beautiful trophy that Arsenal fans cherished for so long and so hard for some reason. I don't know. It was very
What's
weird.
odd?
They were so excited over the Community Shield. Like,
You beat
calm down,
Manchester
guys.
City.
But,
You
like-
know who should have beat Manchester City in a specific
Okay, guys,
United.
Alright.
I just broke the chair.
Okay. Once again, this has been episode 6, another chaotic one. As always, apparently that's how this thing ends. No, I'm throwing it. I'm throwing the hat. It's been an incredible episode. We hope you all enjoyed it. Once again, this has been your host, Charlie Pasquale, along with my co-host, Reed. Thank you for watching the episode. Bye.
I hate you. I'm kidding. I love you all. Bye.